Good evening. I'd like to call to order City Council meeting for June 22nd, 2026. Please rise as you were able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll of members?
Rachel Holteen.
Present.
Dan Larson. Kathleen Martell.
Present.
Scott Ohm.
Here.
Mike Okada.
Here.
Patrick Quinn.
Present, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Jenny Snell.
Present.
Susan Wood. Here. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilors, in your packet, you should have the study session notes for June 1st, 2026, City Council meeting minutes for June 8th, 2026, and special study session notes for June 8th, 2026. Do we have any changes to those? Seeing none, we'll thank the clerk for her hard work on that. We'll go to approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will go to proclamations and ceremonies. We have a big night tonight. If I can have Officer Mark Fisher join me up here and Officer Kylie Fisher. They're here to present the Citizens Police Academy graduates.
All right, I won't bore you too much with my public speaking, but I did prepare a few words for our friends here. On behalf of the entire Wheat Ridge Police Department and the Wheat Ridge community, I want to thank each of you for participating in the 2026 Citizens Police Academy. In the past few weeks, you've learned about a variety of different roles and responsibilities in our department. You've learned about the rigor and extensive preparation that it takes to become an officer. You've learned about different specialized teams that operate in our agency and how they work together to create public safety, from investigations to SWAT. You've gotten to see some of the new technology that we're utilizing, like drones and virtual reality, to make our community safer and to better train our officers. You've met some of the partners that work with us in the community, such as our victim advocates and mental health co-responder. You've learned so much about our agency, what we do, and how we serve this city. I want to personally applaud each of you for taking the time to learn about our department and the city as a whole. Each of you wanted to participate in this class for different reasons, but you will each take something different away from this process. But I can't commend each of you enough for taking time away from your own time with your families and personal time to learn more about us and how we serve the community. This kind of civic engagement and participation is woefully rare these days. I hope this experience will help you stay connected and help you stay informed about Wheat Ridge and our police department and what is happening in our community. Stay engaged in the happenings of our city, and thank you all again for your time and congratulations.
And I apologize if I butcher any names. Mari Reed. Arlen Nimrod. Lynn Nimrod. Aspen Jacoby. Deneen Rock. April Bodendorfer. Sorry. Kathleen Fisher. Tony Carpenter. And Miette Jondreau.
Let's give it up for our graduates one more time. From our Citizens Police Academy, and let's give them one more big round of applause. That's fantastic. We'll have Chief Murtha come up and talk about our new recruits here. So, Chief Murtha.
Well, Mr. Mayor, Council, members of the Wheat Ridge community, I've said this too many times. Maybe some of you are new, so I'll repeat it at the risk of making the ones who've been here for a long time say, here we go again. But this is always one of my favorite nights of the year to introduce our newest members of the Wheat Ridge Police Department. Tonight we have 8 members, which is a huge class of people. We don't take just anybody, so if we find 8 really good people, that's an exceptional year for us. And this has been an exceptional recruiting year for us. We had some retirements and a few people that moved on, and we were quickly able to refill their shoes, which is amazing, considering many of our peers still struggle. This group of 8 went through more than 5 months of academy time. They're going through our internal academy as we speak right now, and then after that they'll conduct the field training. So they'll spend a good 9-10 months of their life just learning the job and learning the basics and being out there pretty soon to wear that uniform proudly and represent the Wheat Ridge Police Department, which I believe represents the Wheat Ridge community. So excellent people, and they are the stars tonight. So tonight they're going to introduce themselves very quickly. But just to say that every 6 months when we have an academy group come through, it reminds me of who I was before this all happened and this face became old and beaten down. So I get to look at their eyes and say, boy, I was probably had that gleam in my eye at some point. Anyway, I look at them now and think of what a great career they'll have ahead of them and what great people we've hired and how that match made in heaven is going to work out for us. So first up tonight, Jack, did you volunteer to go first? All right, well, you stand in the number 1 position, so please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Officer Jack Bryant, and happy to be here tonight with you guys. I joined Wheat Ridge for a couple of reasons, starting with the size of the department. I feel that it is a very good size to get to know all of your coworkers, but it's not too big to where professional opportunity won't get passed up, so that's a huge positive for me. I come from a military background, and as I've gotten to mature and be out in the real world, I realized that I really miss the structure. And law enforcement is a very good place to pursue the interests of being able to help people, but also see the results of the help that you are giving people. So it's just a couple of words about me. Thank you.
I'm Officer Justin Hamrone. Good evening, everybody. Born and raised out here, Aurora, Colorado. The reason I chose Wheat Ridge is because before this, I was doing Uber, and I was driving all around the Denver metro area. And anytime I was in Wheat Ridge, I was always met with such a close knit community, and I was always met with such kindness. So when I was filling out my applications to various departments, I was always crossing my fingers, hoping that Wheat Ridge was the one that would call back, and sure enough, they did. So I kind of withdrew all my other applications at that point. That was my number one priority at that point. And every single day, I always get my decision more and more reaffirmed, because getting to know this group of people and getting to know my department it's been truly, truly exceptional. And I wake up happy to come to work every single day. There's not a single day that I wake up where I'm like, oh, I just want to press snooze. I'm always excited to wake up. So, yeah, and I look forward to serving the community. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Officer Greg Kipp. I'm very happy to be here tonight. I originally chose Wheat Ridge because the position was open. So I applied. But after my first interview and then continuing on interviews with Chief Murtha, I felt like I was in a place where I, as a person, was valued. I was much more than just a name that was filling a position. And I felt that way before, and I didn't feel that way here. I felt like I was valued and that everybody cared about me, who I was, and wanted me to be here. And I know, like Officer Hamrone said, my decision is reaffirmed every day as I get to know more and more people and experience everything. The most important thing about me is not this badge or the badge on my shirt. I'm a husband and a father to two beautiful girls that take all of my sleep. But I love them more than anything. But I'm very honored to be here. I'm very excited to serve the community. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Officer Alex Saylor. Born and raised in Brighton, Colorado. Spent a few years in the Army. Law enforcement was always my end goal. The reason I chose Wheat Ridge is actually a number of reasons. First and foremost, I think the most important driving factor for me was I wanted to work somewhere that would hold me to a high standard and really just be a premier agency and push me to be the best cop that I could be. And so far, that's held true. The standards are very high here, and it's going to push me every day to be a better cop. And then secondly is Wheat Ridge is just a great community. As some of you guys might know from, if you've been around a while, my mom's been a police officer here for over 20 years. And just hearing the stories and everything she has to say about the community has been great. So I'm really looking forward to serving the community and getting to work with her side by side. So, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brendan Roy. I was raised in a small town in Missouri. I lived there for a good 12 years of my life, and then my family moved us out here to Littleton. I haven't lived in Wheat Ridge any of my life, but I always come around here, and it always feels a little bit more like home. Very true. When I walked into the police department for the first time, I felt that. I'm sure you all being here feel a similar way. And I just want to serve the community as well as I can and be a good man for everybody here and everybody out there. And thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Officer Dakota LaRoche. A little bit about me. I joined the Navy back in 2012. I did 5 years on a submarine as a sonar tech. And then I was like, I'm kind of tired of this. Got out. About a year later, I was like, I kind of missed the structure and feeling like I'm a part of something. So I rejoined, which my mistake. But I joined the reserves and I do intelligence now. But a reserve part-time was not fulfilling enough. So I started looking into being a police officer. And I have some other ex-military friends, and they recommended Wheat Ridge because of how they got treated and their culture. So when I started doing my interviews, I loved it. And I felt like this is where I belonged. So here I am. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Officer Addison Southwick. I grew up just down the road in Arvada, and my mom grew up at 38th and Independence, and one thing always stood out when she was talking about her childhood is how much she loved the Wheat Ridge community. And my first experience with the Wheat Ridge Police Department, I had the opportunity to work as a seasonal park ranger for the department. And during that experience, I got to know the culture of the police department and of the entire community. And the last 6 months, we got to meet some really amazing people through this department, and every day's kind of been reaffirming of the fact that I made the right choice coming to Wheat Ridge. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Grace Taylor. I grew up in Bellevue, Washington, so I moved here about a year ago. I chose Wheat Ridge. I mean, the community policing is a big thing for me. But the first time I saw the application, I went to the Instagram page, and one of the things I saw was a woman in policing, and I mean, Kylie Fisher, Commander Saylor. Those are the two people that I saw, and I loved their stories just from being at Wheat Ridge. My chief's interview here, my car tire popped in the parking lot, and I knew it was community-based policing when I had 3 officers come help change my tire. But I love Wheat Ridge, and I'm so happy to be here.
If we can have our new officers come join us up in front of council, we'll take a picture. I think we should give it up to our new recruits one more time. Hands down, one of the best nights of the year. We go from something very happy to a little bit more somber news. We want to recognize tonight Dominic Breton. Before we proceed tonight with our meeting, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of someone who's meant so much to the Wheat Ridge community, Dominic Breton. Earlier this month, I had the honor of selecting Dominic as the recipient of the first Mayor's Community Champion Award. We had planned to recognize him tonight publicly at tonight's council meeting. We wanted to recognize his long service, his extraordinary leadership, and his unwavering commitment to Wheat Ridge. Sadly, as many of you know, Thursday morning, Dominic passed away before we had the opportunity to present him with this honor. For many of us, Dominic was more than just a community volunteer. He was a friend, a mentor, a connector, and an ambassador for everything that makes Wheat Ridge great and special. Whether through his leadership as the president of the Wheat Ridge Chamber of Commerce, his service through the Kiwanis Club, his support of all local businesses, or the countless community events and initiatives that Dominic championed, he devoted his life to bringing people together and making our city stronger. There are very few individuals whose impact can be felt across every corner of the community. Dominic was one of those rare people. His generosity, enthusiasm, and belief in others inspired countless residents, business owners, volunteers, and community leaders, including myself. On behalf of Wheat Ridge City Council, city staff, and our entire community, I extend our deepest condolences to Dominic's family and friends and those whose lives he's touched. We mourn this tremendous loss alongside you. Although Dominic is no longer with us, his contributions deserve to be recognized and remembered. At a future council meeting, we will formally present the Community Champion Award, the certificate, and the challenge coin to his family in honor of his remarkable legacy of service. In addition, it's my privilege to announce tonight that the Mayor's Community Champion Award will be permanently renamed the Dominic Breton Community Champion Award. Going forward, every recipient of this award will serve as a reminder of Dominic's example, his selflessness, his leadership, and his deep love of Wheat Ridge. Through this recognition, future generations will continue to learn about the man many of us affectionately knew as Mr. Wheat Ridge. While our hearts are heavy, we are grateful for the gift of Dominic's life and the lasting impact he made on the community. His legacy will continue to live on in the people he inspired, the organizations he strengthened, and the community he loves so deeply. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection as we honor the life and legacy of Dominic Breton. Thank you. Dominic will be missed, and he will be remembered gratefully. We will go to our public's right to speak. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak on any topic not on the agenda. If you look at the clerk's desk, there are 3 lights. When the light is green, you have plenty of time to speak. When it starts to blink, you have about a minute. When it gets to yellow, you have 30 seconds to wrap it up. And when it gets to red, please go ahead and wrap up your comments. I will call up our first person, and then I'll call up the next person who's on deck. I apologize if I mess up your last names. Our first person is Maureen Daly and Mary Drobnik on deck.
Good evening. My name's Maureen Daly, D-A-L-Y. I live at 3620 Otis Street in Wheat Ridge. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight about our immigrant neighbors and why I believe City Council needs to do more to protect their constitutional rights. Yesterday, a lot of kids in our community weren't able to be with their dads for Father's Day. Instead, I imagine they spent the day worrying about their dads, their moms, their older siblings, other family members who have been picked up by ICE agents without probable cause, only because they are immigrants. These fathers and mothers are now languishing in some detention center somewhere for no reason other than they wanted to build a better life for their families. I'm a retired public health physician. In January, I was alerted to a disease outbreak at the Aurora ICE Detention Center. Local public health went in to investigate, but the detention center did not cooperate, and they did not follow public health's recommendations. Charlie and I heard an immigrant rights advocate speak last week. She was detained at the Aurora Detention Center for 10 months and spoke about the inhumane conditions there. Moldy, inedible food, delayed and inadequate medical care, unsanitary conditions, overflowing toilets, scalding water at times in the showers, and solitary confinement for speaking up. A young mother with her sobbed as she shared that she is now taking care of her 2 younger siblings because her mother was picked up by ICE for no reason other than being an immigrant. At least 74% of the folks in the detention center have no criminal record. And I hesitate to even say that because no person should be treated with such cruelty. Being in the detention center allows the GEO Group, the company that runs the detention center, to collect $150 to $200 a day per person for everyone who's inside. The capacity there is 1,400 people. That means they could be getting as much as $90 million in taxpayer dollars a year in Colorado alone. I went into a local business to talk about immigrant rights and was struck and deeply saddened by the shopkeeper who had a look of terror on his face the whole time I was talking. He thanked me at the end and said, "God bless," as I left. Community support matters, and what you do now matters. In February, you adopted a resolution declaring City of Wheat Ridge support for human dignity and civil rights for all. It's a very good document. Unfortunately, it's not going to protect the community, and it won't prevent the lawlessness of federal agents. What we need is for you to now operationalize the core values expressed in the resolution into an enforceable ordinance. I believe this can help our community and keep it safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Please refrain from applause. Mary Drobnik is up and Don Slavin is on deck.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. As you probably all notice, our group has been here a few times, and you will identify us by either wearing yellow or yellow buttons. And we know that you guys are all very busy, and we know you guys have a lot on your plate. But we want to remind you what's important to us and to our group, which is protecting our community, our friends and our neighbors and our immigrants. And we're not going to go away. That's how important it is for us. We're not going to go away. So tonight, we are asking you to implement the following 5 measures, and we feel these measures are crucial for protecting the civil rights of everyone in our community, including the immigrants, and for maintaining a safe and welcoming community for all. Number 1, prohibit the Wheat Ridge Police from entering into any agreement with ICE. The New York Times recently reported that the Trump administration is enlisting hundreds of state and local law enforcement agencies to assist ICE by making arrests. They are paying cash incentives to do so. This erodes the trust between community members and law enforcement. Making this a written ordinance would go a long way to building trust and transparency, both critical for successful policing. Number 2, to prohibit Wheat Ridge Police from collateral support for ICE operations. There needs to be clear boundaries between Wheat Ridge Police and ICE, and local taxpayers' resources should not be used to assist in any way with immigration enforcement. Number 3, require immigration enforcement to be made using judicial warrants. ICE detention is being driven by immigrants with no criminal convictions. Wheat Ridge should be clear that judicial warrants are necessary for immigration enforcement in our communities. Number 4, require ICE agents to be unmasked and identifiable. ICE agents should be identifiable just like any other law enforcement officers, with few exceptions. And lastly, prohibit ICE from accessing non-public city spaces and not staging from city-owned property. Lakewood requires ICE to get permission first to use non-public spaces. And Denver restricts federal immigration agents from using city-owned property for enforcement. And Wheat Ridge should do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Slavin is up and Devin Green is on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Don Slavin, and I've been a resident of Wheat Ridge since 1969, the year in which our city was incorporated. Notwithstanding that, this is the first city council meeting I've ever attended. However, these are friendly confines to me because when I was a junior and senior at Regis University, I sat over there where the manager and the city attorney are and served as a bailiff in the Wheat Ridge Municipal Court when we met on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. That experience exposed me to what we saw here this evening, and that is the high quality of our Wheat Ridge Police Department. That also was shown to me over the past 2 years in the way the Wheat Ridge Police Department competently and skillfully investigated and prosecuted the murder of one of our beloved Wheat Ridge business persons, Peter Arwale, who operated his shop at 38th Avenue and Teller Streets. Unfortunately, our nation's Immigration and Customs Enforcement Division does not match the stellar performance of our police department. Whether due to the risks and liabilities of deportation or mass arrests, mass detentions, they are accounting continuously of people in leadership being removed from ICE. The ICE officers are under a high degree of pressure to perform, and so we're seeing problems in cities like Minneapolis, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Notwithstanding these problems, $70 billion has been allocated for the ICE budget, and ICE Watch, a watch group, has indicated that it has observed about 100 new ICE vehicles near the ICE offices in Centennial, Colorado. So I'm here to speak to you tonight about public safety and city liability. The United States Code and federal regulations allow for ICE to deputize local law enforcement in what are called Section 287G agreements in order to assist ICE in its operations. Colorado law prohibits local law enforcement from sharing confidential information about someone with ICE and from assisting ICE when arresting or detaining someone. It does not, however, prohibit other law enforcement agencies from otherwise cooperating with ICE. And indeed, Section 6.21 of the Policy and Procedures of the Wheat Ridge Police Department say that notwithstanding that ICE is a federal matter, this does not preclude members of the department from working cooperatively with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement when requested. The Wheat Ridge Police Department will provide logistical support whenever asked to all our federal partners.
Thank you. Thank you. We have Devin Green up and Megan Crow on deck.
Hello. It's been a couple of weeks, maybe 2 months now, since I was attacked by someone in a mask. I assume this person was ICE because we have to assume, because there's literally no mechanism by which I could find out who he was. He assaulted me for standing on a sidewalk in a place he didn't want me to be because he was busy attacking somebody in their home. After I was pepper sprayed in the face, and a long while after, a different person was thrown headfirst into a dumpster, resulting in internal injuries. The Lakewood City Police Department came forward and began helping ICE continue what they did. They pushed all of the protesters away. They gave ICE all the room they needed to breathe, and they were able to kidnap multiple people that day. I don't see any reason to believe that that would go any differently if it happened within this city. I don't see any reason why it is very possible that you feel as though there's not a lot that you can do right now, and I imagine that's somewhat true. Maybe that's very true, but you have a lot more power than I do. All I can do is allow these people to attack me, maybe run away, maybe decide not to show up, give up on everything I think is good and proper, and just allow them to run roughshod over literally everything that is even remotely valuable about this nation. The guy who killed Renee Good, he's still working. We never even find out the names of the people who killed Alex Preddy. That happened on camera. There's been a lot of other deaths that are just not occurring on camera, and there's not even investigations of the ones that are. So it is, frankly, comical that we are having a conversation about what sorts of things could be done. If you do nothing, it's going to be very violent. If you do something, it might be less violent. Whenever stuff like this happens, the people who survive, they always regret what they didn't do.
Thank you. Megan Crow and Stephen Flett on deck.
I think there is a temptation to imagine that ICE is not a Wheat Ridge problem, that it's a Denver problem, an Aurora problem, a Lakewood problem. That is not true. People are being kidnapped from Wheat Ridge. We are getting calls about ICE stalking people in apartment buildings in Wheat Ridge. This is happening every day. And we know that you have the power to do more about it. We know that you're afraid to. We've been told that we don't want to make Wheat Ridge a target. We've been told that we don't have the resources in Wheat Ridge to enforce any kind of laws or regulation against ICE. That's not true either. We have the resources. We have the ability to make changes. You have the ability to make changes. And the community will support you. This is what we as a community want to see happen. Everyone who's spoken today about the Wheat Ridge Police Department has assured us of the highest level of professionalism. If you pass a law, it is their job to enforce it. And I'd like to think that they will. It is not a problem elsewhere. It is not a problem in Minneapolis. It is not a problem in, at Delaney Hall. It is a problem here. And that is why we're here asking you to do something about it.
Thank you. Stephen, I'll let you spell that out, and Lauren Andrassi on deck.
Good evening, Mayor Stites and members of City Council. My name is Stephen Leddy. That's how you pronounce it.
Thank you.
And I'm a resident of Wheat Ridge. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to urge this City Council to adopt a set of common sense policies to protect our community's civil liberties and ensure that Wheat Ridge's municipal resources are used to serve Wheat Ridge residents, not carry out federal immigration enforcement. I am specifically requesting that City Council direct staff to draft ordinances and resolutions addressing 4 specific areas. First, we got to see all of the new recruits' beautiful faces. I would like to continue to see those faces, so I'm asking you to draft a mask ban for law enforcement. Officers acting in an official capacity should be identifiable by the public that they serve. Denver City Council has already drafted and moved forward legislation prohibiting law enforcement from wearing face masks that conceal their identities. Accountability requires visibility. Second, a prohibition on 287G agreements with ICE. Colorado law already limits local cooperation on civil immigration detentions. The city should go further by formally prohibiting any 287G partnership that deputizes our local law enforcement as federal immigration agents. Our police department exists to build trust with our community, not to act as an arm of the federal government. Third, a requirement that any cooperation with federal immigration authorities be premised on a signed judicial warrant, not an administrative warrant issued by ICE itself, a warrant signed by a neutral judge. This is a basic constitutional protection. Denver has barred ICE from secure areas of its jail without such a warrant. Wheat Ridge should hold the same line. Fourth and finally, a resolution limiting federal law enforcement staging to federally owned public lands. City property, our parks, our parking lots, our streets should not be used as operational staging grounds for federal immigration operations without the express consent of this council. These are not radical proposals. These are measured, constitutional, and consistent with what other Colorado communities are already doing. They protect everyone in Wheat Ridge, regardless of immigration status, from overreach, and they preserve the trust between our community and our local police. I respectfully ask that the council direct staff to return with draft language on each of these items at a future meeting. Thank you for your time and your service to this city.
Thank you. Lauren Andrassi, I believe, and then Meg Reed is on deck.
Good evening, Mayor Stites, council, and neighbors. My name is Lauren Andrasky, and I've lived in Wheat Ridge at 2875 for Depew Street for 5 years now. When we initially bought our house here, it was a little bit of a concession. We would have chosen to stay in Denver, but at the time couldn't afford it, and we didn't want to leave our community there. Now we absolutely love living here because we have such incredible neighbors, many of you, and a really incredible community here that we've seen come together, tonight included. One of my favorite things about Wheat Ridge is that we are a perfect size to get things done without the same levels of bureaucracy as some of our larger neighbors face. One of the first things that I was impressed by was the resident survey when we had first moved here. asking, what do you want Wheat Ridge to look like? What do you want that future to be? And not only that, here's what we're going to do about it. Okay, we can't afford sidewalks yet, but here's what we're going to hopefully do about it. And even here's the list of all of the responses from everybody. That level of transparency and listening to the community has continued to impress me and has made me excited. Wheat Ridge is so far from a concession now, it's where we want to continue to stay. I really appreciate that the City of Wheat Ridge's support for human dignity and civil rights for all resolution affirms Wheat Ridge's values, some of which I know we've been working on building and defining as a community. But as my peers have asked today, I'm asking that you go further, because right now this resolution says, here's what we believe in, but we haven't decided how we're going to act on it. Our own vision and ideals talk about a dynamic and welcoming community that promotes a sense of belonging for all residents. We've seen ICE operations in nearby cities with similar demographics conducted without warrants, without due process, without even identifying who those officers were. That's not a hypothetical risk for us here in Wheat Ridge, as it's already happening. We heard about the idea of these new police recruits with this high standard, with wanting to help people, and that's what we want to happen in our city. To repeat some of what my other peers have shared, we're asking that the city prohibits Wheat Ridge PD from entering any, but specifically 287G agreements with ICE, to prohibit Wheat Ridge PD from providing collateral support for ICE operations, to require judicial warrants, which are the thing that's already required, but to reinstate that that's what we'll do, and not civil detainers, to require that any ICE agents operating in Wheat Ridge are identifiable with their faces and badge numbers visible, because otherwise, how do we know that that's actually who's coming and who's trying to hold somebody accountable when we can't know if they bought their costume off of Etsy or if they're actually legitimate? And to prohibit ICE's use of city property with a firm commitment that temporary holding stays temporary, not as a backdoor to long-term detention. We have a real opportunity here to back up our values with real policy. While we invest in a main street, small businesses, and being a place where people are choosing to put down roots no longer as a concession, but that's a bunch of construction projects if our neighbors are afraid to leave their homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Meg Reed, and then Mary Ann Stork is on deck.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to dispel some misinformation. Immigrants pay more in taxes than they receive in benefits. They contribute to Social Security, but many will never be eligible to collect. The Social Security Administration bases its solvency calculations on 1.2 million new immigrants per year. More than that, solvency of Social Security is improved. Lower than that will increase the funding shortfall. But since this administration took office, net migration is in negative territory, meaning more immigrants are leaving than arriving. Because net migration has slowed, our GDP growth and consumer spending will have dropped significantly in 2025 as figures become available. Statistics show that departed immigrants were not taking jobs from American citizens. All this is to say that cutting off immigration is harming American economic growth. I think we could all agree that the worst of the worst should be arrested and incarcerated, perhaps deported. But statistics show that in order to meet this administration's goal of an average of 2,700 deportations a day, ICE and related agencies are detaining 12 people with no criminal record at all for every one serious criminal they apprehend. I have personal knowledge of a man being arrested and detained at GEO in Aurora for driving with his bright headlights on. Another was detained for failing to signal a left turn. 3 men were pulled over for no reason at all. 1 is still in GEO. 2 have already been deported. It's only been a couple weeks. Detainees have been denied bond or pressured to leave the country voluntarily despite having no criminal convictions. People are moved to faraway detention centers without notifying family or lawyers for no discernible reason. The administration is also attempting to revoke U.S. citizenship from immigrants who did it the right way. planning 250 such denaturalizations by October. 250 compared to just 11 per year between 1990 and 2017. People who want to be on the right side of history will denounce the violations of human rights, rights that apply to every person on U.S. soil, and we will celebrate the contributions that immigrants make to our society. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ann Stork is up, and Shannon Strudevant is on deck.
Mary Ann Stork, 4120 Balsam Street. Good evening, Mayor Stites and council members. My reaction upon reading Resolution 14 passed on February 23rd, 2026 is, oh, that's nice. I'm actually quite impressed by the number of platitudes and politically correct phrases it contains, including, but not limited to, civil rights, human dignity, safe community, fear and uncertainty, will not ignore injustice and unlawful behavior. Wheat Ridge, an independent-minded, inclusive, forward-looking city, citing the First, Fourth, Fifth, and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. All those words, they help about as much as my prayers and thoughts are with the victims of the shooting. Yet, we still have mass shootings. Might I conclude that the illegal actions committed by our federal government, the murders of those who oppose, will also continue because we, and particularly the city of Wheat Ridge, have not specified which actions are to be taken to ensure that every person who calls Wheat Ridge home feels truly safe and protected. Wheat Ridge is lucky, however, because they have available to them model language from our fellow city of Lakewood to put teeth into a tepid resolution. Tonight, I urge you, the council members and mayor, to prioritize the life and death issue of immigrants who live and work in Wheat Ridge. Be the independent-minded, inclusive, and forward-looking legislators and representatives of the people you claim in Resolution 14. This is not the time to hesitate, pause, ponder. It's a time to act when ICE has been given billions of additional dollars, no strings attached, no limits on their actions to harass, seize, kill, starve, separate children from parents, and so many more inhumane and brutal acts. Don't be the city where after the fact you have to hear people tell you, I told you so, or you think, I should have listened to the advice of the people I represent when they spoke to me on June 8th and June 22nd. I strongly urge you to be proactive. Write and adopt a new and or revised resolution incorporating the language of Lakewood and Denver, where the city councils articulate their intentions, values, and top priorities in response to federal immigration enforcement practices. Stand up, speak out. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon Strudevant is up, and Robin McKinnon is on deck.
Policing immigration status has nothing to do with the rights of immigrants directly. It's a testing ground for the fascist regime in power to identify what tactics work to oppress certain groups so they can then use what they learn to oppress more groups. We're not here to ask you to protect our immigrant community members. We're here to ask you to protect all of us. Anyone thinking differently need only look to the fear-mongering around trans rights to see another targeted community. Left unchecked, it's just a matter of time before we all fall into a category that becomes directly threatened. This is not speculation. This is the well-documented path of authoritarian regimes like the one currently in power in our country. What actions will council take against the Gestapo in our town? These decisions need to be made now so we can rest assured that there's a protocol in place for when, not if, there is escalation in Wheat Ridge. The time to decide and act is yesterday, not tomorrow. There is no question in my mind that the vast majority of Wheat Ridge citizens would agree with the statement, ICE is not welcome in Wheat Ridge. This is the mandate of those you serve. It is not a message that has to be broadcast loudly. We're not requesting performative grandstanding, and it's not about keeping up with neighboring communities. We're requesting thoughtful strategies with tactics to counter ICE in Wheat Ridge. We're here requesting protocol development and training to be put in place as soon as possible so we'll be prepared for the time of crisis. Unless we happen to have billions of dollars, it's just a matter of time before all of us can end up in the crosshairs, so I leave you with a question that I challenge you all to answer. What can you do from the position of power and privilege that you all sit in to prevent ICE from detaining yourself? I don't know the answer, that's why we're here, but whatever you come up with is what we're asking you to do, and we're asking you to do it now.
Thank you. Robin McKinnon, and then Valerie Beck is on deck.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to start off by just reminding everybody that Wheat Ridge is composed of 30% people of color. And I'd like you to look at the council, and I'd like you to look in the room. And have you ever asked yourselves why that 30% of the community isn't here? Are they invited? Are they included? Do they even want to come? Like, they should be here for the decision making of these things. My name is Robin. My pronouns are she, hers, and I was at the raid that happened in Lakewood about 2 months ago. I was there most of the day, so I can tell you most of what the different actions happened and how different people showed up. And the most heartbreaking part of the day was how Lakewood PD showed up. You've heard already that there were citizens who were harmed, and I'll tell you, the ICE is looking to harm people. They had no problem with their hands on bear mace. They had no problem shoving your constituents into trash cans and causing closed head injuries. They were looking for this like most of the day. They were looking for an escalation. And as soon as there was a very clear assault that happened, Lakewood PD was called. And they were called by a lady who was there the very first day Lakewood PD was even formed. And she had faith in her police, that they would come, and that there would be an investigation, and that the Lakewood resident would be supported. And I'll tell you, I've taken her to coffee 3 times since then because of the heartbreak that she experienced watching how Lakewood showed up. They pushed us back. They pushed the community back. They allowed multiple ICE vehicles to get through to kidnap our neighbor, which allowed to break down the door. And then Lakewood had the audacity to control the narrative and spread false information about this family. I'll tell you, my neighbor was here on asylum. He's been here for more than 20 years. He has beautiful children and a lovely wife. He's here on asylum because of the espionage that he suffered in his community, because we are supposed to be that great nation that takes care of people that are going through that. I also want to echo that this has already been a situation in Wheat Ridge. Citywide, we do a lot of tracking and notice patterns, and there are consistent places in Wheat Ridge that are already being targeted. So your constituents need you. And we constantly hear there's nothing I can do, but there is. You're elected, you're here listening, I'm grateful, but we need more. I would like to invite you to a training that we're holding on Wednesday so that people can recognize ICE and so that people know what to do to support their neighbors. I invite you to be part of mutual aid. I came with whistle kits for anybody who would like to provide some for you and for your neighbors, which is just a gateway to making sure that people are taken care of. Thank you for hearing your people tonight. I'm so proud to be a part of this army. Have a good
Thank you. And our final speaker tonight is Valerie Beck.
Okay, sometimes I forget how to do this. Valerie Beck, 4325 Everett Street, Wheat Ridge. I just wanted to first commend all of the people that have shown up here tonight. I stand with them in ICE Out in Wheat Ridge. Also, I'm so incredibly grateful to the 8 new recruits that we have here in our community who, boy, they on just an individual basis have Wheat Ridge Police has just done so much for my family and our neighbors, and I'm so very grateful. Also, I wanted to thank council and the city for the naming of the Community Service Award for Dominic Britton, and that's why I'm here tonight. Is I just also wanted to recognize Dom. When I first moved to Wheat Ridge, I didn't really know what I was getting into in the best possible way. I was at one of the first movie nights on the green with my little kids. I was sitting with Christine Disney, who I'd met through Mod Mood friends, and out of nowhere, this man walks up, hands me his business card, and starts telling me about everything I could get involved with in Wheat Ridge. I looked at Christine. My honest first thought was, is this guy okay? Like, does he need friends? And Christine just smiled and said, that's Dom. He'll get you involved in anything and everything. And she was right. He wanted to know where my kids were going to school. He told me about the Grange. He asked how I was liking it here. But what he really wanted, what he always wanted, was to bring you in, to make sure you belonged. And here's what I figured out pretty quickly. Every single person who was new to Wheat Ridge got that same treatment from Dom. He didn't need friends. He had plenty of friends. What he had was something rare. He had a spirit, a true spirit of the city. I don't know how many people have that in them the way Dom had it in him. Losing him and losing him the way we did so suddenly is gutting. But the one thing that's consoling my heart right now is this. His spirit doesn't have to leave with him. We carry it forward. We are in the middle of big decisions for this city, new things coming, elections, investments that matter. And I believe with everything I have that if we keep Dom's spirit with us as we make these decisions, welcoming people and making sure everyone belongs, we cannot go wrong. Dom led with his spirit. He made sure no one ever felt like they didn't belong in Wheat Ridge. So I just want to say tonight, I'm so sad that Dom is gone. But I don't think there's any way this community ever forgets him because he made sure of that himself, one business card at a time. I'm going to bring his spirit with me. I'm going to welcome people. I'm going to get them involved. That's how we honor him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have nobody else signed up to speak tonight, so we will go to our first agenda item, our consent agenda. Councilor Martell, if you're online, we'll have you introduce this item.
Hi, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to introduce consent agenda items. Item number 29-2026, a resolution amending the 2026 fiscal year general fund budget to reflect the approval of a supplemental budget appropriation in the amount of $9,000 for the purpose of accepting and utilizing grant funds from the Jefferson County Open Space Foundation's Nature's Next Steward program. At issue, the city of Wheat Ridge. Oh, sorry, technical refresh. Bear with me. At issue, the city of Wheat Ridge was awarded $9,000 from the Jefferson County Open Space Foundation's Nature's Next Stewards program. The funding will support additional field trips for summer camp participants during 2026, focusing on visiting natural spaces in the county and paired with environmental education.
Thank you. This is our consent agenda, so may I have a motion on consent agenda item number 1A?
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
I have a second by Councilor Holteen. Will clerk please poll the council?
Yes.
She got a thumbs up. Thank you. We'll move
Thank
to
you.
agenda item number 2. Counselor Snell, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Council Bill number 11-2026, an ordinance reappointing Jonathan Lucero as presiding municipal court judge and approving a municipal judge services agreement. At issue, the city's home rule charter provides for appointment of the municipal court judge for a term of 2 years. The current term of presiding judge Jonathan Lucero expires July 1st, 2026.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I will open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, City Attorney Dole will give a brief introduction.
Thank you very much. As noted in the issue, the judge serves terms of 2 years under the charter. The charter also requires that the judge's compensation be set by ordinance. The judge has asked for a small increase in his compensation. So the ordinance attaches a current copy of the presiding municipal judge services agreement that has that new compensation rate in it. As I say, the judge serves 2 years, and you appointed Judge Lucero 2 years ago. It's gone by fast. I know everyone's delighted to have him here, and he is here in the room tonight, and I've asked if he would wish to address the council. I know that he does. He can tell you about what's been going on in the court and answer any questions you might have for him.
Thank you. Judge, if you want to
Please.
come on up.
Council, thank you very much. For the last 2 years, they have gone quite quickly, and I know that I last presented to you all approximately about 7 months ago with a sort of state of the court to kind of explain what has changed and gone on in our court in the course of about a year and a half. So as you might imagine, not a whole lot of updates for you all since that last meeting, but I can tell you the following. We have a new face in our courthouse. We have a new prosecutor. So back in January, I believe it was January 1st, our longtime prosecutor, Donna Schneider, I believe she was with us for about 22 years, she retired, rightfully so. And so in the interim, we didn't have anyone to fill those shoes that she occupied for so long with our court. And so that hiring process was a little bit lengthier period of time. We went without a full-time prosecutor, well, excuse me, not full-time, without a permanent prosecutor with us for probably about 2.5 months. And so we had some hurdles to navigate with that, and we did have some substitutes that were in there, but as you might imagine, those attorneys had other legal work that they had to attend to as well and just couldn't be there with us for every day. So fortunately, I believe we had almost every day covered. We had a handful where we just didn't have a prosecutor. We continued those cases off into the future with the hopes of getting a new prosecutor in there. Our new prosecutor. So where did he come from? He is wonderful. As you all know, I sit in a couple of other courts, and one of my courts is going to be the City of Aurora. That's a full-time 5-day-a-week court. I'm typically there on Mondays and Fridays. And our prosecutor, his name's Mike. You should all come by and meet him and get to know him a little bit. He's a wonderful human being. He's a leader. He is a mentor out there. And about his background, he was one of the elected DAs up in South Dakota. He's handled everything from the littlest cases on all the way up to homicide cases. And he comes with a very great perspective and head on his shoulders and compassion. And I poached him from Aurora. I got him out of there. And when the news broke that he was leaving Aurora and he was coming over to Wheat Ridge, my presiding out there is a much taller man than I am, and he looks down on me and gives him this smirk and shakes his head slowly back and forth and says, Aurora's loss is Wheat Ridge's gain. Very happy to have him on board. He's been in the prosecutor's seat now over there for almost exactly 1 month, I believe. But that is really the biggest change that we've seen. Other quick changes that I'm sure you all are aware of. We're now starting to see more of those expired license plate filings. Those are now starting to trickle in. Hopefully it's going to be a great fountain of new cases for us. I'm looking forward to that as well. And we're also just in about the last month began with the photo radar ticket hearings. And so we have some of those hearings tomorrow. But beyond that, those are the real updates that we've seen and experienced in our court in the course of about the last 7 months since we last spoke. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other presentation? No? We don't have anybody signed up from the public to ask questions or speak, so do we have any questions from council? Okay, seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and ask Counselor Snell for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 11-2026, an ordinance reappointing Jonathan Lucero as presiding municipal court judge and approving a municipal judge services agreement on second reading and that it takes effect upon adoption.
I have a second by Counselor Ohm. Do we have discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, I will thank the judge and we will have the clerk poll the council.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Martin. You have 7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carries, Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor.
And again, our compliments to Judge Lucero on the work he's done over the last 2 years. Thank you. We'll go to our next agenda item, number 3. Counselor Okada, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Introducing Council Bill number 13-2026, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning disposition of lost, abandoned, and unclaimed property. At issue, the Colorado Revised Uniform Unclaimed Property Act generally requires holders of unclaimed property, such as the city, to disperse unclaimed cash and cash instruments to the state treasurer. The act had allowed local government to exempt itself from the act if it adopted local ordinance concerning unclaimed property, which the city did in February 2025. However, on June 4th, 2025, Governor Polis signed House Bill 25-1224, which removed this exemption from the act. This ordinance revises code sections to comply with the act as amended on June 4th, 2025, and simplifies the procedure for the city's disposition of unclaimed property.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. It is an ordinance on second reading. It's not quasi-judicial. I will open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation?
Yes, City Attorney Dahl, again, will have a brief summary.
Thank you very much. Council, as the issue description described, the cities across the country, of course, deal with unclaimed property all the time, things that are found primarily by the police department, sometimes by Public Works, a lot of bicycles, and other kinds of property. And once that's held for a certain amount of time, it's appropriate for the city to dispose of it. In the past, the city has occasionally gotten cash or has had cash or cash instruments or equivalents and has been able to retain that unclaimed kind of intangible property as opposed to tangible property like bicycles. The state statute has changed and requires now, used to be that we could exempt ourselves from this, but this is now changed by the legislature, and intangibles, meaning effectively cash and the contents of safety deposit boxes, have to be given to the state treasurer, and there's a reporting process for that. Pardon me. In addition, in the past, we've had a lot of sections on the disposition of unclaimed tangible personal property that have been unnecessary. And last year, the council adopted an ordinance eliminating a pretty good range of those and shortening our code sections. But this ordinance, as described, complies with the state statute directing that cash and cash equivalents be directed to the state treasurer per the statute that the legislature adopted. And secondly, it streamlines the process for the disposition of tangible personal property, which largely is administered by the police department because that's the department that receives the vast majority of the unclaimed personal property in the city. The Section 3 of the ordinance inadvertently, and it's my error, has a bunch of sections of the code that are repealed. Those are already repealed. We got those repealed last year. It was pointed out to me by the police department just before tonight's meeting. So when we are ready for a motion, I'm going to ask, and I'll assist, but the maker of the motion, just whoever that is, add at the very end of the motion with the exception of Section 3. And that way, those Section 3 repealers will go away because you've already done that work as of last year. That's my short report. The PD is here, ready to answer any questions you might have about how does it go at the police department and what has been their experience with unclaimed property. Happy to answer questions.
Thank you. We would go to questions from the public. We have nobody signed up to speak, so we'll go to questions from council. Go once. All right. Then I will go ahead and ask Councilor Okada for that motion and see if you've got his language on there as well.
Thank you, Mayor. And check me, Mr. Dahl, but I think I got what you were saying there. I move to approve Council Bill number 13-2026, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning disposition of lost, abandoned, and unclaimed property on second reading, and that it takes effect 15 days after final publication as provided by the charter, with the exception of Section 3.
That's fine. That's good. Thank you.
We have a second by Councilor Quinn. Do we have a discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council? All right. Moving on to agenda item number 4. Councilor Ohm, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Council Bill number 14-2026, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning recreational vehicle parking in parks and open spaces. At issue, proposed amendments to sections 17-1 and 17-52 of the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning the parking and use of recreational vehicles and other oversized vehicles within city parks, trails, open spaces, the recreation center, and other recreation areas. The proposed changes are intended to ensure these public spaces remain available for their intended recreational purposes and are not used for extended stays, residential occupancy, or activities that interfere with public access and enjoyment.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on first reading to set the date and time for a public hearing. Mr. Ohm, will you please give me a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 14-2026, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning recreational vehicle parking in parks and open spaces on first reading, order published, public hearing set for Monday, July 13, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting and in City Council chambers, 7500 West 29th Avenue, and that it takes effect 15 days after final publication.
I have a second by Councilor Okada. Will the clerk please poll the council?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
Excellent. Agenda item number 5. Councilor Wood, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, agenda item number 5. It's a motion approving a contract with Game Time in the amount of $530,000 for Fruitdale Park and Prospect Park playgrounds. At issue is the City of Wheat Ridge has funds budgeted to replace the playground at Fruitdale Park and the Eastern Playground at Prospect Park in 2026. 3 vendors provided options for each playground. Following a public survey, student engagement at 2 charter schools in the area, and staff evaluation, the options provided by Game Town are being recommended by staff. This motion would approve a $530,000 contract to order the 2 playgrounds from Game Time and for Game Time's local installer, Altitude Recreation, to install the playgrounds and related servicing.
Thank you. This is a motion for the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation on this?
We just have staff here. Do you have any questions from Parks and Rec?
Thank you. We have no questions from the public, so we'll go to questions from council. Seeing no questions from council, Councilor Wood, may I have a motion, please?
Yes. I move to approve a contract with Game Time in the amount of $530,000 for Fruitdale Park and Prospect Park playgrounds.
I have a second by Councilor Snell. Do we have discussion on the motion? Councilor Quinn.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I am the council liaison with Parks and Rec. We talked about this at the Parks and Rec meeting last week. It's going to have some really nice updated equipment and really inclusive for everyone that comes to the park. It's really nice to see the renditions of what it's going to look like in the presentation. Full support of this.
Thank you.
And I didn't have my mic on, so.
Well, I think we heard you. Anybody else? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
Moving on to agenda item number 6. Councilor Quinn, will you please introduce this item?
Okay, this time I have it on. Resolution, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to introduce Resolution 30-2026, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the intergovernmental agreement establishing the Clear Creek Trail Collaborative. At issue, the proposed intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, would formally establish the Clear Creek Trail Collaborative, The city of Wheat Ridge manages approximately 7 miles of the regional 65-mile Clear Creek Trail, and 14 other government agencies either directly manage or indirectly assist with managing other trail segments. The IGA establishes clear governance, decision-making, and voting structures, establishes quarterly meetings and annual strategic planning, and makes a formal commitment to the Clear Creek Trail name and branding. The IGA further ensures that member agencies maintain a continued commitment to the branding, construction, and maintenance and management of the trail without committing any agency to financial contributions.
Thank you. This is a resolution from the council. Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation on this?
No presentation, but Ms. O'Donnell is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. We have nobody signed up to speak, so do we have any questions from council? Councilor Wood.
Yeah, almost hit the wrong button. I just have a question. Since this IGA is for partnership only and doesn't include funding, should decisions be made down the line that there's funding necessary for certain options, will there be additional IGAs that would be entered into? And if so, would those come back to council?
That's a great question. I believe, and Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, that it would really kind of depend on the dollar amount. We've had some projects with this group before where we've committed a small dollar amount through our open space budget towards larger projects like the branding that was mentioned in the introductory statement. So it was just a small dollar amount that each community contributed towards that larger project to determine the branding that then we will use as a collaborative throughout the trail, as an example.
Yeah, and if it is a new IGA or an amendment to this IGA, that does require council approval. So that would come back to council. It doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. If it's an amendment to the IGA, any IGA has to be approved by city council. Yep.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, Councilor Quinn, may I please have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 30/2026, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the intergovernmental agreement establishing the Clear Creek Trail Collaborative.
Second.
I have a second by Councilor Wood. Do we have a discussion on the motion? Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is a really good idea, and I will definitely be a friend of this trail, the collaborative trail. I think this is something that has needed to happen for a long time, and I'm hoping to see a lot of branding, and a lot of people will really be supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hulteen, or Mayor Pro Tem Hulteen, sorry.
Sorry, I'm really jet lagged. I flew in from Netherlands last night. I just want to build on Councilmember Ohm's comments. In my work over the years, trails are regional for the most part, and really the only way to have like a robust, successful regional trail is to have this type of regional collaboration and to memorialize it and bring parties together, you know, just to bring forward some of these like uniform interests and clear goals, I think really makes a difference. Clear Creek is a treasure in our community and is one of the things that drew me to Wheat Ridge in the first place. So I'm very happy to see this move forward, and I know it really is an investment in the long-term success of one of our gems. So excited to actually vote when she clears it officially with my peers for this.
Councilor Quinn.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Once again, we spoke about this Wednesday night at the planning or the Parks and Rec Commission. I think it's a really good idea because it gets us all pulling the chain in one direction to make sure everything's the same in each, how they address everything in each city. I want to say there was like 60 some miles of this trail where it begins and ends, and it goes through several Golden, Wheat Ridge, Arvada, Denver, several counties, unincorporated areas. So it's really, I think it's a really good idea and fully support this.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
Thank you. And we are moving on to agenda item number 7. Mayor Pro Tem Hulteen, will you please introduce this?
Thank you. I am happy to introduce this. This is a motion to approve appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. At issue over the last quarter, resignations were received from members of several boards, commissions, and committees. There are currently 16 existing vacancies, and we are about to appoint them.
Thank you. This is bids or motions for the council. It's not quasi judicial. I will go ahead and go with mine first. I request the appointment of Bill Powell to the at-large Building Code Advisory Board term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I request the appointment of Amanda Weaver to the Election Commission term to expire December 11th, 2027. And I request the appointment of Aspa Jacoby to the Election Commission term to expire December 11th, 2027. And as nominated by the staff liaison, I request the appointment of Kia Ruiz to the at-large Idea Committee term to expire March 2nd, 2028. And as nominated by the staff liaison, I request the appointment of Valerie Beck to the at-large Idea Committee term to expire March 2nd, 2028. And as nominated by the staff liaison, I request the appointment of Ryan Zeman to the at-large Idea Committee term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I request the appointment of Laura Singer to the at-large Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committee term to expire March 2nd, 2029.
I move to ratify the mayor's recommendations as presented by the mayor.
So we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Holteen and a second by Councilor Ohm. Do we have discussion on the motion? Councilor Quinn.
One question, Mr. Mayor. I see Jacoby Aspen appointed to this, and also the community grant.
Community grant.
Is
Mr. Goff, do you want to address that real quick?
Yeah, your rules are that an individual can be on the Community Partner Grant Program and one other board and commission.
So,
Thank you.
So that
Just
works
wanted to make
for
sure that was
Aspen. So, any other discussion on the motion? Will the clerk please poll the council?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
All right. We'll go to our District 2 appointments. Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
Thank you. I move to appoint Kelsey Robb to District 2 Community Partners Grant Program Committee, term to expire March 2nd, 2022. And I move to appoint Crystal Knudsen to District 2 Community Partners Grant Program Committee, term to expire March 2nd, 2028. And I move to appoint Kelsey Robb to District 2 Parks and Recreation Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2029. And I move to appoint Karen Stanley to the District 2 Idea Committee, term to expire March 2nd, 2027.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Holteen and a second by Councilor Ohm. Do we have discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Yes.
Excellent.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Mayor Pro Tem.
thank you. Okay.
There you go.
We have 7 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We'll go to our District 3 appointments. Councilor Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to appoint Aspen Jacoby to the District 3 Community Partners Grant Program, term to expire March 2nd, 2028.
Second. Second.
A motion by Councilor Quinn and a second by Councilor Wood. Do we have discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Yes.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. And we'll go to District 4, and before we do the District 4 appointment, we'll recognize Mr. Dahl.
Thank you very much. I need to make just a short record on the District 4 appointment, and for that, I would like to do sort of a quick Q&A, if I might, with Councilmember Okada. Thank you, Councilmember Okada, and members of the council. You have a charter provision 410 that says that if you have a financial conflict of interest, either yours or a close family member, that you're not to participate in voting on the matter. But you'll notice that that charter section emphasizes a financial conflict, either held by you or a close family member. And so with that in mind, because it is restricted to that, I will say that I'm going to recommend that Councilmember Okada is able to vote on this matter, but I want to make that record on the record so that it's clear for everyone going forward. And Councilmember Okada, is it true that the potential appointee, Darla Okada, is your spouse? Is that right?
That's correct.
Is it also true that the appointment to and service on a border commission in the city, especially when it's a border commission as opposed to the council, comes with little or no financial remuneration.
That's correct.
And as a result, neither you nor your spouse would receive anything significant in terms of financial remuneration as a result of her service on the commission. Is this true?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Having made that record, I would advise that Councilmember Okada is able to vote. And in fact, other charter provisions say that if you don't have a conflict, you must vote unless you're excused by the rest of the council. So he's not only able to vote, but is. And I gave thought to whether, nevertheless, he should or shouldn't make the motion. But if you're allowed to vote and are going to vote, there's no difference between that and making a motion. So I have come to the conclusion that it's also appropriate for him to make the motion. But I wanted to make a record of that so it's in the minutes. People that are watching might say, why is this happening? And I just want to make sure that we made that clear for everyone that might otherwise have a question. With that in mind, he's free to and is able to make that motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl. Typically, we allow the senior counselor to make the motion. Counselor Larson is not here today, so we will go to Counselor Okada for the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to appoint Darla Okada to District 4 Cultural Commission, term to expire March 2nd, 2027.
We have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Holteen. Do we have a discussion on the motion? Counselor Holteen.
You say Counselor Holteen, and I push the button. We're a hot mess up here tonight. I want to just make mention in case people are new to this and paying attention. In my time here, there's been a long history of spouses from council members serving on various boards and commissions. So it's not surprising that civic action and duty is rich within households. So I'm grateful that Darla was willing to serve our city in this capacity, and I look forward to voting yes to confirm her.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Yes.
Okay, we have 7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carries.
Excellent. We'll go back to our agenda here, and we'll go to city manager's matter.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, we do have a special study session this evening, but did want to announce that our homeless navigation program reached a significant milestone. I don't know if it was today, Marianne, or this week, today, of placing 200 individuals who have been experiencing homelessness into housing. So huge congratulations and thank you to Corey and Maddie, our navigators, for their continued dedication and support. You've all met them both, and they, as we always say, they are the best navigators in Jefferson County. So, and I think their results are showing that. So appreciate the work they're doing, and Marianne and Wyatt, who's sitting in the back, leading those individuals. That's all I got. Thank you.
City attorney's matters.
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to our elected officials matters, and we'll start with Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm devastated to hear about the news about Dom. I do want to make sure to mention thank you, Dom, for everything, and please rest in peace. I also wanted to mention that that this past weekend, I didn't catch the name of the individual that helped out, but at Youngfield and 44th, I think this was on Saturday, if I believe, kind of late in the day, two dogs were at large running across the intersection. Darla and I had a chance to kind of make a U-turn and go take a look, and by the time we got there, someone who works in District 4 was helping the dogs. That person was keeping their attention and keeping them from running back into the road, while Darla called emergency services and Jefferson County Animal Control came by. I regret not getting her name, so I couldn't give her a full shout out here, but I did want to thank her for that work and likely saving those dogs from death or from injury, because they were definitely running all over the place. But that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilor Wood.
I have a couple of things. First of all, I would like to echo Councilmember Okada's sentiments about Dom. It's a loss for us all. He's one of the first people I met when I was appointed to council and was new and very unsure. And he was so kind and open and welcoming, and he will definitely be missed. I have a couple of things going on. I am fortunate to attend the Colorado Municipal League annual conference this week. It's local, which makes it very nice, but it's a real opportunity, I think, not only to meet other council members from different jurisdictions and learn from them, but also to get education that will help me to do this job better. So I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I wanted to mention is last week, I think I mentioned the legislation going through at the federal level, the Road to Housing Act, and that it looked like it was clear sailing for it to pass. And in fact, it did pass the Senate today. So that's a good move, and we will look to see what that will do for not only Wheat Ridge, but other cities as well. And then the other thing I just had to mention, one of my passions and recreational enjoyments is attending Zumba classes at the Wheat Ridge Rec Center, and I think everybody who knows me very well knows this. And that their classes are on Saturdays and on Thursdays, and they're wonderful. But the reason I bring this up is that this past Saturday, as we do every year at this time, we celebrated Pride Month, and the entire class wore pride flags, and some dressed in rainbow colors, and we celebrate our diversity. And in fact, the class itself is very diverse and a great deal of fun. And I think it really exemplifies the kind of folks that we have here in Wheat Ridge who are diverse and who do celebrate each individual and the diversity that we have among us. So I've never told that before, but I wanted to celebrate it and share it. And that's all.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I do not do Zumba. A, I have no rhythm, and B, I'd have a heart attack. Mr. Mayor, I just want to say thank you for your words tonight when you were presenting the Community Champion Award for Dominic. I could hear the emotion in your throat, and that shows a lot about your personality and your integrity, and I appreciate it. And thank you. This week, or last week, I won't be as extravagant as Dan, but I had quite a bit today. Last week, I went to the goat parade, which was a whole lot of fun. Never been to a goat parade. It was a great little learning experience, learning what the goats do and why they're there, and had a great time walking behind the goats, talking to the community. I want to also say I was at the Park and Rec Commission meeting Wednesday night, and I wanted to thank everybody who came out and spoke their mind tonight. That takes a lot of bravery and integrity in today's world to come out and speak the way they did, and I really appreciate it. And I won't speak for the rest of the council, but we heard you, and thank you for coming out. I also want to thank the folks that volunteered and signed up to be on all the different commissions and committees that we appointed tonight. And thanks for the homeless, the housing update, Patrick. I think that's very important that we get that out. And I also want to invite our District 3 folks to the July 8th event we'll be having for the community event or the outreach. We'll do it at the Rec Center on July 8th, and hope to see several people there, and we'll talk about all things Wheat Ridge. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. And first, I'd like to thank the city for the technology and flexibility for us to Zoom into council meetings. That did allow me the opportunity to travel this week and spend some time with my sister. So I appreciate that flexibility. Just a couple quick things. I do want to thank all of the residents and community members who spoke tonight around immigration concerns. I know a lot of them are District 1 residents who have joined us for office hours, and we hear you, and I appreciate them taking the time to come out tonight. I'd also like to let everyone know that last week Sustainable Wheat Ridge met, and Chris from EX5 and some of his team came and talked to the Sustainable Wheat Ridge Committee, and I was so impressed with the conversation and the recommendations that Sustainable Wheat Ridge made to EX5, and how there's definitely a feel of partnership and seriousness around the sustainable aspects and the sustainable impacts that can be made with the legacy development. It's really encouraging and promising. So we hope for some good sustainable movement in that development. And then I'd just like to echo my fellow council members and Mayor Stites with just my heartfelt condolences to Dominic's family. I don't know what I can say that hasn't already been said, but just that Dom was Mr. Wheatridge and he will be missed. And I think we all are up for the challenge of making him proud and how we show up for and support each other here in Wheatridge. So I just want to echo that sentiment. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Counselor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things this evening. First of all, last week I got to attend in a different capacity the City of Wheatridge Safety Soiree, which I think that using the word soiree should be brought back in our lexicon more. So I just want to give a shout out to Kelly and her team. They did a great job. This is a time when staff go through different stations and learn about ways to be safe and look out for things just in your daily life, in your workplace, in the field. But it's just I was able to bring folks on a very hot day some lemonade and iced coffee with my business. But it was really nice to have some time to connect with staff and just on a just a nice day and not really any sort of agenda other than talking about safety. But I was happy to be a part of that. And Kelly and her team always do a great job. Extra good this year because the pancake truck that was supposed to show up did not. And so the staff sprung into action, went across the street to Mr. Biscuits, who then sprang into action to make a lot of biscuit sandwiches really quickly. And so excellent work all around and great community partners there. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of that. Second, I just wanted to mention really quickly on the subject of the Cultural Commission, this Sunday, June 28th, is the cutoff for the next round of community grant funding. So if you know someone who is thinking about applying for this funding opportunity, they have until Sunday, but probably shouldn't wait till Sunday. This is something that you can find out more about on the Cultural Commission page on the city website. But you can get up to $500 in grant funding for an activity, event, or project that promotes cultural, artistic, and/or educational opportunities in Wheatridge. So go to our Cultural Commission page to find out more on that. Then I'd like to recognize also our community members that came tonight in support of our immigrant neighbors. And as Councilman Quinn said, that requires courage. It requires courage to come up here and speak at all. But when you are talking about something that is such a controversial, difficult topic to talk about, and you're standing up for your friends and your neighbors, there's a lot more courage involved there. And so I just wanted to say, we heard you, and I think that we as a council, we were elected by everyone, and we were put here for a reason. And so I do think it's something that we as a council should consider and talk more about. But I do want to just recognize them and say thank you for that. And then finally, I also wanted to recognize Dom and thank Mayor Stites for your words tonight. Really appreciate that. And our community's just, I feel personally like I'm just kind of reeling with this news still. Just someone who's such a glue of our community and someone who's just exemplifies Wheatridge in so many ways is gone, and it's really hard. And I feel like everybody's got that story of connection and something really special to them about Dom. And that's just, just exemplifies him and what he meant to all of us. And so we have a long road ahead of us, but we also do have a obligation to him to make sure that we are continuing to do the best that we can and be good to each other and uplift Wheatridge. Thank you.
Councilor
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank all the speakers tonight. They were really admire their civility. Anytime that we have such a large crowd, you always have to wonder, what do they think of the city? And everyone that came up, spoke from their heart. And I understand their concerns but everyone was very civil, and I really appreciate that. The other thing is, I want to thank the police department. Everything I heard, I try to talk to every one of those, the new cadets, and every one of them, you know, was very, you could hear their stories about how they felt about Wheat Ridge, but we have a really strong community. And I think that says a lot about our city, and it says a lot about our police chief and the staff. I think we should definitely applaud that. And then yesterday was Father's Day, so I got to spend some time with my kids who, you know, they're growing up now and heading in different directions, and got to, you know, have breakfast with my father-in-law, and, you know, so all the fathers out there, you know, I'm sure you had a great time and on Sunday. And one of the things that I did do is I got to take a walk. My wife asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go to Prospect Park. It's one of my favorite parks in the city, and we used to take their kids there. And, you know, thinking about way back when the kids were little, we would go to that one playground that is now, you know, it's served its use and its time. It's moving on, and we're getting a new playground. And that's going to be exciting for those kids. When I went through Prospect Park, there was kids, maybe not so much on that playground, but I guarantee when the new one's up, they will be all over it. But there's a lot of kids, you know, playing around at the pavilions, walking along the trails. You know, it's a really well-loved park. And so, you know, I want to thank you, Director O'Donnell. I think, you know, we have a great park system, and I'm glad I could, you know, enjoy that on Father's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Holtine.
Thank you. I've got a list of things here. I want to just start with my reflections on Dom. I knew Dom before he moved to Wheat Ridge. He actually worked at my Safeway when I lived in Northwest Denver. And when you think about the grocery store as a place where people don't necessarily shine, like, I knew who Dom was because he was always just so kind and friendly when we were checking out. And then when I moved here and met him in the capacity of being such a community builder and civic champion, it was just really delightful to get to know him in that capacity as well. I was chatting with the mayor earlier, and when I was thinking about Dom after I heard the news on Thursday that he had passed, it dawned on me, like, every memory that came to mind was of him in a room where community building was happening. If Dom was in the room, it was because something important was happening in that room. And it's the kind of really important things that make Wheat Ridge great. It's conversations where people feel connected in meaningful ways and build the resiliency through relationships that are really what serve us in good times and bad. And Dom was just always a presence in that room. And I thought of him as an indicator species of good community. And as been said tonight, you know, we're going to miss him dearly, but he will still be in those rooms in so many ways. And I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to have gotten to know him and be in those rooms. On Wednesday, it's Bike to Work Day, possibly one of the best days of the year. Some people think Christmas, I think Bike to Work Day. The Wheat Ridge AT-ATs are co-hosting with Bike Jeffco a pedal to patio, so you don't have to bike to work. You can just bike anywhere on Wednesday and land yourself at New Image Brewing from 5 to 7. $2 off pints of beer, free pizza from Bike Jeffco. We'll have prizes. AT-ATs have new awesome t-shirts, so hope to see you there. I will certainly be there. I also want to make mention to my colleagues, you received an email today from Ashley about the Engage Wheat Ridge July activities. I just want to mention that's a super helpful orientation. On July 2nd, we're going to be kicking off with the city's celebration of the state's 150th and the country's 250th. So we'll be up there with an opportunity to invite our community to our various district and other activities throughout the month. We're really excited. We've got prize drawings, including a grand prize of a Yeti cooler. Unfortunately, we are not eligible for that, which is too bad because I want me a Yeti cooler. And then the mayor actually had a really great idea, which is to throw a pool party at the end of the month, just really celebrating the opportunity for us to meet with our constituents, you know, in our neighborhoods, at the parks. And so people who join us for Engage Wheat Ridge activities will get an invitation to come to the pool party on July 30th with a disco DJ. I mean, we know how to do Engage Wheat Ridge right. So there will be a little bit more information coming forward, including some talking points that are really centering around some of the issues we've been discussing on how to prioritize some capital investments and where a community is on that. So thank you everyone for your participation. The calendar of events is daunting, and I hope everyone in Wheat Ridge has a chance to walk down the street to the closest park or rec center and meet with us in July. I've got two more things. One is I do want to make mention the day before I left for my trip to Netherlands, I was informed that one of my neighbors was viciously attacked by an at-large dog and was in the hospital for several days. And he's a sweet old elderly man. He and his two dogs were attacked, and he is home recovering. And I want to thank the city for being helpful in helping us figure out what was going on with that and ensuring that the dog was not placed back in the home. And it just interestingly kind of fell in this 2-week period between our council meeting where we had adopted new animal control but hadn't gone into effect. But I'm just bringing it up in that it highlighted a couple things. One, dogs should be leashed when they're in public spaces. You may think your dog is great, but my neighbors now are adamant about not allowing people to walk around without a leash on their dog because there's been some trauma in our neighborhood and people are not feeling safe. But also just the community just has rallied and making sure that the neighbor is not for want of meals and is well taken care of. So I just want to name that dog at large is really a threat to people, even if the dog is not. And then my last thing is I do want to actually see if anyone would support me to have a study session for us to take a look at what are local regulations that we could do in order to strengthen our protections of our immigrant neighbors. In addition to everyone speaking tonight, I spent Tuesday night in the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam, and it was just a deeply moving. I mean, this is a book that is in my DNA. I can't tell you how many times I read it. That house was so real to me as a child, and actually walk through it on Tuesday and to be reminded of her voice and what she was going through. The house itself just tells all these kind of titrating small things that turned into such a horrific, horrible thing. And I just think if we're not listening and paying attention, we don't want to be on the wrong side of history for our neighbors who don't have voices. And I'm just so aware how many of our neighbors wouldn't feel safe coming here tonight. And so I think the things that are being asked by the folks we've heard from the last couple of meetings are specific. Our neighboring jurisdictions are taking similar actions, so we have model language to work off of. And I think it would be the right thing for us to do to take that conversation up and evaluate what's the right thing. So I would hope I've got support from someone for adding that to a study session.
So we do. So
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem and the city manager will get that on when you can.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I am a little jet lagged, so don't expect too much coherence from me after this sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. I too want to thank everybody who was here tonight to speak. It does take a lot of courage to come in here, and especially when it's something that is polarizing in the community. To come in and speak says a lot. I want to thank all the citizens who participated in the Citizens Police Academy. The more you can get involved and know how the city operates, the more involved you'll be, and the better you are as a citizen. So thank you to everybody who took the time to, and I think they all said they had a ton of fun. So I know that anybody who's going to do that is really going to enjoy that. I also want to thank the 8 new police officers that we have here. I think every 6 months when we get to do this, it's always one of my favorite nights, and to hear the reasons why people choose Wheat Ridge. It's always one of the first questions I ask, and why you choose Wheat Ridge, and it's almost always the culture and the community and all the reasons people choose to work here are probably the reasons people choose to live here, because this is a pretty awesome place to be. It's people like Dominic who's helped make it that way. I also had the opportunity to stop by the safety soiree the other day at the Green. Fantastic use of the Green, by the way, and had some of that lemonade that Councilor Snell was giving out, and got to chat with a bunch of our city staff members who work really hard for our community, and we want to thank all of you for all you do. The goat parade on Saturday was a blast. Thank you to Parks and Rec for participating in that. Amanda Weaver, who's my former co-counselor for District 3 and Five Ridges Farm, always do a fantastic job. The goats are really exciting for our neighborhood. I live in that Lewis Meadows neighborhood. It's really cool to see our neighbors. All of a sudden, people who weren't down there are now down there walking around the goat loop, we call it, and talking to Simon and Garfunkel and all the different goats. And we hear them all throughout that area. It's a lot of fun. So thank you to everybody who participated in that, and our Wheat Ridge police officers who helped lead the parade. Before the goat parade, I tried to stop by, and I totally underestimated the TLC cleanup that Local Works put on over at 38th and Vance at the church there. I pulled in at about 7:45, thinking I was going to get right in, and there was a small line, I thought, and then I kept going, and around the block, and around the block, and around another block before I finally got to the end of the line. I decided I didn't have enough time to do the goat parade and that morning, so I decided to do what Dominic would do, and I went to some of the local businesses on 38th Avenue, got some coffee at Mountain Milk, got some breakfast sandwiches for the family over at Mr. Biscuits, and just kind of shop local, enjoyed the community a little bit, and made it just in time for the goat parade with all that. But we've all talked a little bit about Dominic tonight, and Dom's been a friend of mine since I think 2009 was when I first met Dom, and he came into the B&F Tire Company, and he was sitting there with my dad and my grandfather, and giving them both heck. And Dom always had big plans, and you talk to Dom for a while, and he could convince you that you could do anything, for one. And every plan that he and I hatched sitting there at the chamber office or in the lobby of B&F Tire Company was always going to be huge. And I just remember those conversations that he would have there, and my grandfather would say, "Now, Dom, come sit down." And Dom couldn't sit around for very long, so he'd sit around for a minute, and they'd chat, and he'd needle my dad about certain things, and my dad would needle him back about Kiwanis or whatever he was involved in at the time. And Dom would leave, and my grandfather would go, "That boy, he got chickens in his pants. He can never sit still. He's always doing something." And that was Dom. Dom was always doing something. He couldn't sit around. He would get up and go form a new club, form a new organization, strengthen something that was already there. He's a special man, and a good friend of mine, and somebody that I think we all as a community, we've lost a great friend, but we've got somebody who's an inspiration to us, and somebody who has really shown us what this community can be when you take care of it. And Dom was that person. So, and as he reminded me several times that my grandfather would remind him, Wheat Ridge is better when the chamber is strong and people support their local businesses. So Dom was a big proponent of our local businesses. That's why I spent the weekend going to Clancy's and Pietra's and all the other local businesses that Dom was a big fan of and supported, because it's his heart that's in all of those places. So we will go ahead and adjourn our meeting tonight. Please keep his spirit in your memory, and think about what Dom would do and how he would act, and I hope that inspires the people that come after him. And I know we're not done talking about him, and we're not done honoring his legacy. So I hope that for everybody who's watching and for listening, just take care of each other, and remember what he would do, and remember how he would do it. So we will go ahead and adjourn. We'll take a 10-minute break till 8:35 for a special study session, but thank you again. Good evening. We are back for our special study session for June 22nd, 2026. We have two agenda items tonight. One is our 2026 resident survey report, and the other is the request for interest around Wilmore Davis Elementary School. So we'll go to agenda item number one. And Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation?
We do. Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to turn it right over to Mary Ann. She can introduce our guest and get this going.
Great, thank you. Yes, Council, as you may recall, every 2 to 3 years, we do our resident survey to ask our residents how they think that we're doing, and the results provide valuable insight into areas where residents would like to see continued focus and investment. So I'm pleased to welcome Sonia Widdink. She's POLCO's Executive Vice President of Data and Insights, and she's going to share the results from the resident survey.
Thank you very much, Marianne. I'm very happy to be here to present your 2026 survey results. I would like to thank Marianne for all of her work on this project with us. She provided a lot of thoughtful insight and input and kept this going very well. So I think you all may know POLCO, but as a reminder, we work with hundreds of organizations nationwide, providing tools to hear from residents and other stakeholders for planning, budgeting, and decision-making in general. How a survey is implemented really matters, and we use our expertise to ensure that your results are representative. This is the 9th iteration of your community survey. Most questions stay the same each year, with a few being updated to address new or current issues. In this year, 5,000 households were randomly selected from U.S. postal lists of all households and confirmed to be within the boundaries of Wheat Ridge, and they were contacted 3 times. An initial invitation postcard was sent on March 9th, 2026. 1 week later, they received the paper survey with a postage-paid envelope. And then a week after that, a reminder postcard was the final outreach. All these mailed materials included a web link and a QR code for residents who prefer to take the survey online, and included both English and Spanish instructions. Data collection was open through April 20th, 2026, and 786 respondents completed the survey. 365 of them were online. This provides a 17% response rate, and which is actually on the high end of what we're seeing for Front Range communities. And 786 responses results in a 3.5% margin of error, which is excellent for this type of research, where the target is typically 5% margin of error, or around 400 responses. So first, we're going to look at the high-level results. In your survey, there were 75 evaluative items that matched to POLCO's national benchmark database and could be compared to about 400 communities. For these comparisons, higher indicates 5 points above the benchmark, while much higher is more than 10 points above the benchmark. And the same, but in the other direction, for lower or much lower. Items that were higher in Wheat Ridge were related to bike and bus travel, parks and recreation, city employees, and housing options. Lower were items such as the condition of streets and sidewalks, employment and education opportunities. Policing services and crime prevention were lower, but police response time was higher than the national benchmark. Note that the symbols in the bottom left corner of this slide will be used to highlight items that are higher and lower than the national benchmark for the rest of the presentation. Most Front Range communities also complete community surveys, and 65 evaluative items could be compared to benchmarks from these Front Range communities. Higher were related to 18 items were higher and 6 received lower ratings. Higher were related to residents' overall impression and the direction the city is taking, plus items related to car and bus travel and housing and development. Lower were a small and mixed group of those 6. Crime prevention, ease of walking, storm water drainage, public information services, air quality, and cleanliness of Wheat Ridge. You are, of course, a very important benchmark to yourself over time. And so comparing your results to 2023, there were 107 evaluative ratings available for trends. And great news is that the majority saw increases. Only employment opportunities was rated lower than 2026 compared to 2023, and that's a national trend we're seeing, a lot of challenges there. It should be noted that in 2021, most communities, including yours, saw what we call a COVID bump, where residents really saw their local governments in action during the first couple of years of COVID, and they tended to give higher marks in our 2020 and 2021 surveys across the nation. Then in 2023, many dropped back to pre-COVID levels. So in 2023, you had actually seen about 50 items drop. So as I said, across the country, we've seen a lot of rebounds again, but your results show a much higher proportion of these increases than other communities. So for your ratings, some show a return to pre-COVID levels, but many also show an upward trend from 2021 to 2023 to 2026. So that's really great news. Next, we're going to dig a little deeper into a few key areas. First, residents like living in Wheat Ridge, and they plan to stay here. Residents continue to have positive perceptions of life in Wheat Ridge. Nearly 8 in 10 respondents rated overall quality of life as excellent or good in 2026, consistent with prior years and comparable to peer communities nationally and across the Front Range. Residents' reasons for living in Wheat Ridge also remain consistent with previous years, with the city's location, quality of neighborhoods, and feelings of safety among the most frequently cited factors. About 3/4 of respondents gave high marks to the community for making all residents feel welcome in business establishments. Closer to 2/3 said Wheat Ridge does an excellent or good job, welcoming residents from all backgrounds to participate in local government, making all residents feel welcome, respecting individual cultural beliefs and values, treating everyone fairly, and providing a safe and secure environment for residents from all backgrounds. Most items showed strong increases from 2023 to 2026. Long-term attachment to the community also remained high. About 9 in 10 residents said they were somewhat or very likely to both recommend living in Wheat Ridge and to remain in the city for the next 5 years. Residents' likelihood of recommending Wheat Ridge exceeded both the national and Front Range benchmark comparisons. Not shown here, but related, the ratings for Wheat Ridge as a place to retire also increased from 2023 to 2026 and was above the Front Range benchmark. The same was true for the ratings for the overall reputation and image of the city. Residents had good things to say about their community overall. About 25 specific characteristics of the city were rated, and here we show the top rated, and then on the following slide, I'm going to show some of the lower rated. Wheat Ridge's parks, trails, and recreation amenities continue to stand out as defining community strengths. Nearly 9 in 10 residents gave high marks to the availability of parks, with 8 in 10 praising the availability of paths and walking trails. Recreational opportunities, the overall natural environment, and the availability of bike paths and bike lanes also received strong ratings from about 3/4 of residents. Note that all these items had improved from 2023. The rating for cleanliness of the city improved the most, but it did remain below the benchmarks, while ratings for the availability of parks, paths, and walking trails were all above the benchmark. At the same time, residents identified several continuing challenges. Lower rated items included availability of affordable quality housing and childcare, employment, shopping, and educational opportunities, opportunities to attend cultural activities, and the overall quality of new development. Note that the availability of quality housing was above both benchmarks, and the quality of new development received better ratings than the rest of the Front Range. Residents do find Wheat Ridge a safe place to live. Feelings of safety remained one of the city's strongest community attributes. Similar to previous years, nearly all residents reported feeling safe in their homes and in recreation centers, while about 9 in 10 felt safe in parks, playgrounds, and neighborhoods. Roughly 8 in 10 also felt safe in retail and commercial areas and on the trail system. Importantly, nearly every measured safety indicator increased from 2023 to 2026. 3 of the 7 items could be compared to the national benchmark, And safety in parks and playgrounds and safety at home were rated much higher than their national benchmark, while safety in neighborhoods was similar. Residents were asked what the police department should prioritize in the next 2 years, and they again expressed strong support for community-oriented policing priorities. About 9 in 10 respondents placed a medium or high priority on directing additional city resources towards addressing crime-related mental health issues. More than 8 in 10 residents prioritized improving community connections and increasing relationship-based policing. Compared with 2023, strengthening community connections increased slightly as a priority, and support for adding surveillance cameras dropped a little, but was still higher medium priority for 78%. All others were similar between years. Ratings for most city services saw a bump from 2023. About 8 in 10 residents rated the overall quality of city services as excellent or good, a statistically significant increase from the previous year, and ratings comparable to national and front range benchmarks. Residents evaluated 27 individual city services, and 24 showed an improvement compared to 2023. Some of the largest gains were seen in snow removal, efforts to address homelessness throughout the city, and crime prevention. Among the highest rated services were recreational facilities, maintenance of parks, open space and trails, recreation and programs, city-sponsored events, and police response time to emergency calls. While many services were rated similar to peer communities, several areas exceeded benchmark averages. Police response time to emergency calls ranked much higher than the national benchmark, while all the recreation-related services consistently ranked above the national averages. To understand what might need the most attention, we create a quality importance matrix. And just note that this graph is a little hard to see here, but you can look at it closer in the report. And I'm going to show an easier to read summary on the next slide. But just to orient you, all services are ranked as either being above or below the median in importance and in quality. And then we look at what is relatively higher or lower in quality and importance. Note that the median score for quality was 62%, excellent or good. So a majority could give an item a good rating, and it could fall below that median. The median for importance was 77%, essential or very important. Here we show the items that are statistically different from both of the medians. So it excludes those that are kind of clustered around the middle, and it highlights those that are more outliers. The quadrant to focus on is the top left, where there is higher importance and lower ratings for quality. These included addressing homelessness, land use planning and zoning, and street repair and maintenance. All of these were similar to the benchmark ratings, and ratings for addressing homelessness and also street repair did improve by 10% or more from 2023 to 2026. So there's good progress, but these are still areas that likely need continued focus. Ratings for the city's local government saw really good improvements. Residents' perception of Wheat Ridge city government improved notably from 2023 to 2026. As mentioned earlier, many governments saw spikes in the 2020-2021 COVID years and then rebound previous to lower ratings. But you are seeing a bump both from 2023 to 2026, and also a long-term upward trend from when you first started measuring in 2024. About 2/3 of respondents rated the overall performance of the city government as excellent or good. The rating for overall direction Wheat Ridge is taking ranked higher than both the national and peer benchmarks, while the others were similar. More than 3/4 of residents positively rated the quality of work performed by city employees, as well as interactions with Wheat Ridge police officers. At least 6 in 10 residents also gave favorable ratings to the overall direction Wheat Ridge is taking, and to the extent to which elected officials act in the best interest of the community. Although ratings related to communication, citizen involvement, and values pays for taxes remain lower in this list. Each showed an improvement from 2023. Residents would support a ballot measure to fund infrastructure improvements. New questions in 2026 explored resident priorities for long-term capital investments. Transportation infrastructure, especially streets and roadways, emerged as the highest funding priority among respondents. Strong support was also expressed for parks and open space, stormwater and drainage infrastructure, sidewalk, bike lane, and ADA accessibility improvements. Support was comparatively lower for investments in individual facilities such as Anderson Pool and other city buildings. Asked about support for a potential ballot measure if capital needs begin to affect current service delivery levels, overall sentiment suggested a moderate to strong support for such a measure. So to bring it all together, this survey paints a very positive picture for Wheat Ridge in 2026. Residents report a high quality of life and strong attachment to the community. They're proud of the features and amenities that make the city unique, and they're feeling safe, with growing support for community-oriented policing. On the city services side, ratings improved across nearly all areas, and evaluations of city government reached their highest levels since we started tracking in 2004. This is a meaningful milestone that should be celebrated. And looking ahead, residents are aligned on priorities. They want to see investment in infrastructure, and they're open to a ballot measure if that's what it takes to fund those needs. Overall, this is a community that's doing well and keeps moving forward. So that is my summary, and I will pause here for questions.
We'll go to questions from council. Councilor Wood.
So I have to ask this question because it's an area of interest for me that folks will understand. But in the ones that ranked lower, like land use, planning, and zoning, you know, the big question mark in my mind is what is it about those items that make it rank lower? And I don't know if there was anything in the survey that would indicate that, but I thought I would ask the question. I was a little surprised at that one, honestly.
Yeah, there's not a lot more detail in the survey on that specific item. So if we wanted to dig deeper, we'd probably need to ask some follow-up questions. I will say that those items are often ones that have higher don't knows, and I didn't mention at the beginning, but we are reporting on the percent positive of those who have opinion.
Wait, will you say that one more time?
So in the presentation, that we exclude any don't knows, and we are only reporting on the folks that have an opinion. So there are some items like land use planning and some others that will generally have a higher don't know percentage. But we're just talking about the people who have an opinion.
An opinion. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hulting.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if we can go back in the slide deck.
Oh, sure.
It's in the area that was, the question that I'm going to ask is referencing staff engagement. So there was, keep going back, keep going. Wait, sorry, no, I think that last one might have been it. No, okay. There's a question that said, that was giving the response on engagement, like community engagement through staff. Is that question ringing that data point?
I think there was maybe in the governance ratings.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Sorry. The slides weren't numbered, so I couldn't.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I'll just say I was surprised because the number was kind of low. It was
Police department priorities.
It was after.
Oh,
Yeah,
communication
yeah.
by city staff.
Yeah, and there, earlier in the presentation, it actually had the number next to it.
Right.
And I didn't go deep in the crosstabs on this, but I didn't see what the response was from 2023 on that.
Oh, I can look that up.
And I'm asking because I think it's something that we've actually had a lot of improvement on, and I was surprised at how low the percentage. So I was just wondering if it's possible to see what the comparison was from 2023, because at that point we would have been really pretty deep in the weeds with the Let's Talk program.
I have that information. So
Okay.
it was
Thank you, Mary Ann.
2026, the percentage. So the question is, the following are services provided by the city of Wheat Ridge. For each service, please rate the quality of each service, percentage excellent or good. So 54% in 2026 said that community engagement by city staff is excellent or good. In 2023 was 47%.
Okay, all right, so that had improved year over year. Okay, thank you. That's what I needed to know.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Any other questions? Counselor Quinn.
I guess the only question that really comes to mind is, now what do we do with all this information? Do we make a plan, and what is that, or is this just like a temperature check?
Yeah, it's a report card, temperature check, and I think you should be proud and talk about these results during Engage Wheat Ridge. We've always talked about, like this chart here. Do we dig in deeper on the upper left quadrant? And it's very difficult in this type of survey to truly understand why people ranked it a certain way without asking more questions, right? So you hate to react too quickly without maybe doing more research. And but in our mind, it's more looking at trends over the years, right? Are we going in the right direction? Are we making improvement in areas? Are there any major red flags? Like, oh, and I thankfully in this survey did not see any major red flags. But I think staff will talk internally about this more and see if there's anything we can do to maybe bring back to council.
And if I can add, one of the things that we've been working on the last few years is really tying our budget to the resident survey. And so we'll see things like the street repair and maintenance that maybe could use some help. And we'll try to actually tie dollars to that and then share that with you during the budget process. So we've been trying to connect the dots a little bit more lately to help you all be able to tell a good story to the residents in terms of this directly impacting the budget and impacting the services they're receiving.
Thanks. I think it's a good report card for you all, that you guys do a fantastic job of running this city. I personally think so, and then I have not heard anything real negative out in the public. But I think this just shows that that you all are doing a good job.
I think just having sat through budget presentations and survey results, it's helpful to, as a counselor, to maybe use this as a lens when you look at the budget presentation in a few months, that do those dollars line up with what you see as the values that our communities kind of express.
I will say most communities do use that in the budgeting and just bringing the values of the residents into decisions that you're making, like what are they saying is most important. But also the context of your staff and yourselves, it's not the only context. Sometimes things reveal even that there's a perception issue. Like, you might have really good services in one area. I don't think that's the case in these results, that the residents aren't seeing, and they might have a lower rating for something that they shouldn't, but by other measures they shouldn't. And then it's really about communicating with them what's available.
Thank you. Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. On this one, the matrix of city services was, to kind of go on Mayor Pro Tem Halteen's, the community engagement by city staff. The question I have is, did this include any non-residents, specifically, say commercial, more specifically, say consultants, developers? Were they asked about city services? Because, and I know they wouldn't be interested in, like park services, or was this just the lens of our constituents, the voters?
This is just the lens of the residents, so as identified as people who live in a household, a residential household.
Thank you.
Counselor Snell.
Just a quick question, thinking about going into July and our events, would it be possible to get a copy of this presentation, like an electronic copy, if we wanted to show it at one of our Engage Wheat Ridge events?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Mr. Goff is going to get us some that's broken down.
Yeah, I was going to pull out some, the mayor and I were talking about this morning, some highlights of this for your Engage meetings so that you can report out.
Any other questions or comments? Mayor Pro Tem Holton.
Thanks. I would just add to that. I think, we're kind of wonky in this space and looking at the survey. I think if we're taking this back out to our community, pointing to examples of it. As I read this, I was like, this is like the anti-Facebook comments section where we're actually getting statistical data, and yet we are surrounded by community members who a lot of times their overall impression of the community's impression of itself is oftentimes informed by social media dialogue. And so I think just like really grounding this information in specific actions and activities that point to what contribute to that success is really important, so that we're helping fill in those blanks and not letting either construed information or misinformation do that. And then I just want to say, this is extraordinary. These are hard times. Trust in government is declining. People are experiencing, increasing difficulties and challenges, economically, and, there's a lot more uncertainty in the ether. And I was a little concerned about how, just like the general conditions that aren't unique to Wheat Ridge might reflect in this survey. And, for this survey to come this strongly at this point in time, I think is just a real testament to the work and the partnership between council and staff and our community for showing up in these spaces. So I think this is really work we should feel proud about, and really make sure, Councilmember Quinn's question, like, now what? A lot of this is communications. And I think we have a really strong communications program, but really telling the story of, nice things are hard to get, and they only happen when we do the critical evaluation of how to do better. And I just think we're doing really well as a city, and I'm really proud of that work. And I'm really looking forward to doing even better on the next survey, which I will be watching from the comfort of my home. I won't be up here for that. So anyway, I just thank you, everyone who's contributed to these good results, especially our community who shows up to let us know what's important.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Martell has her hand raised.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just would like to try to connect the dots on how we're going to take this survey information in. And I'm looking at the page in the packet. It's page 43 in the packet, but it has the priorities for long-term funding. And there aren't a lot of surprises, but it's consistent with the lowest numbers being around Anderson Pool, city facilities. How are we incorporating this data into like our talking points and into our talking points for Engage Wheat Ridge events, and then also the language that is being prepared for potential ballot language moving forward to our ballot item? Like, how is this lining up or impacting things?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I think you need to keep in mind that this is one data point. We've done one round of polling. We're going to do a second round. You're going to be engaging with your residents extensively over the next month or so. So I think you need to pull all of that data and information that you gather together, and that's when you'll have the hard decision to make what the question will be if we do have a question on the ballot this November. So yeah, just keep in mind that this is a different type of survey questionnaire than the polling is, so they may not be exactly the same, the results. So you kind of got to mush it all together and figure out what the right answer is at the time. I don't know if that makes sense, Kathleen.
Yeah, that does make sense. I'm just wondering if last week we talked about getting some talking points, and will that include like data from the latest polling and data from the survey, so that we can refer back to these, or is
Yes.
or we're just going to put it together on our own?
No, we're working on that right now.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you. Of course you are. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Holting.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Martell. It's a really good question. And I mean, the point of Engage Wheat Ridge is to have face-to-face conversations about these things. So we want to make sure the information is getting out consistently in a relational way that can invite, not only are we having talking points, but there's going to be, questions that we can be asking constituents so that we can better flesh out, not that there is a point where more data points is not going to help us, but we are going to be making a fairly quick and hard decision really at the end of July about what we want to do with this. So the talking points will be useful to make sure that we're all, engaging with our community in a way that we can bring those conversations back to this room and bring together the information we get from the next round of polling to try and, make the best decision we can on how to support the priorities of our community. And then we'll have a pool party.
If I could just say on this slide, I neglected to mention that just like when you think about like these things, like something like Anderson Pool, I'm assuming it's just not going to be as relevant to as many people in the community. That doesn't mean that it's not an important thing. Having a pool and having aquatic activities is important to a certain proportion of the community. So this is a broad survey. It does show like how many people, where overall it's landing, but it might be that, if there's a community that doesn't have access to that particular need, even if it's not for everyone, it's still important as a balanced part of your community, just as an example. But so obviously your context and the conversations you have are super important.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from council? Oh, Councilor Wood.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, when I was going through the information and I was looking at the numbers overall, I wasn't surprised, but still, for them to be so high, it was wonderful. And it's like in the words of Sally Field, you like me, you really like me, yeah. But I think Councilor Quinn said this, or others. It really is the city staff that does this, and I hear this from people on the street too, that they love Wheat Ridge. They love living here. From people I know that don't live here, and I say I live in Wheat Ridge, they go, "Oh, I love Wheat Ridge." So anyway, I think everyone should feel good about this.
Any other questions, comments? Well, big compliments to staff, and thank you for all your hard work on this. This is pretty excellent. So a little round of applause for you guys. Thank you very much. Anything else you need on this, Mr. Goff? Or
No, thank you very much. Thank you, Poco. Appreciate your help.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll go to agenda item number 2, Wilmore Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. So our last item is an update on the status of Wilmore Davis Elementary. I won't go into too much, so I won't repeat what Lauren's saying, but we're not looking for really tons of discussion this evening, but more of a consensus from council to continue moving forward in a certain direction. So, and then we'll come back several times probably with actual agreements and IGAs and purchase and sale agreements. So with all the more detailed information. So I'll turn it over to Lauren. Yeah.
feel like I'm at the big kids table. So much closer. Good evening. So I'll give a quick summary of information I know you know, but these are important decisions. So for the record, I'm talking about the RFI, remind you what the criteria, review criteria considerations that we had. Talk about a little bit about Spectra Centers, our preferred partner, who was new to me through this process, why they are our recommended partner, and then a couple comments about next steps. So as you'll recall, you saw the draft RFI in February. That was about a month before we were ready to launch that, where we were proposing this public-private partnership in order to preserve the opportunity of having parkland at Wilmore Davis. Following that discussion, we worked closely with Jeffco Public Schools and their consultant JLL, and I think I put it in the memo. We estimate that it went to around 500 recipients through BidNet, OpenGov, and direct email people who had previously expressed interest in the schools. So we do feel pretty confident that we cast a pretty broad net. We got maybe 80 questions during the required question phase, and then we ended up with 8 proposals for Wilmore Davis and 6 for Color Strand. Tonight's discussion is really focused on Wilmore Davis because there was a time-sensitive educational land use. We have not put the same level of review into the Color Strand proposals. We have notified those respondents that that will happen within the month or so. So for Wilmore Davis, as you saw, we received 8 responses, variety of concepts, mostly residential to educational. Some contemplated retaining the existing building, others proposed demolition. Each accommodated the city's desired park use to varying degrees. There were a number of criteria that we had put into the RFI, not sort of rated in terms of specific scoring numbers prescribed to each criteria, but more considerations, notably compatibility with our desired park use, compatibility with the city plan, Parks and Rec master plan, the pathway document, community benefit, feasibility and implementation timing, financial and organizational capacity, and the ability to support a successful disposition process with the school district. So all that to say, you know, the school district is not looking for the highest dollar amount. We, thankfully, I think they recognize that there's a real opportunity for a community win here. So our recommendation of Spectra Centers as a partner represents the proposal that really most effectively advances all of those collective considerations. So Spectra Centers, as you read or maybe knew, they're a Colorado-based educational organization who is licensed through both the Department of Education and the Colorado Department of Human Services. They've been around since 2003, a partner of Jeffco Public Schools as well as other Front Range school districts since that time. They operate in a really specialized space where public school students whose individual educational plans, IEPs, cannot be served by the traditional public school setting. Those students are referred by the public school to Spectra Centers. They operate in north of the metro area, I think in Broomfield right now, and they're really seeking, because they get referrals from so many districts, they're seeking to open a second campus that is more centralized to serve not only Jefferson County, but the metro area and the south metro area. So this location would add a second campus for them. Really briefly focusing on why we thought they were the best among the respondents. As I mentioned, they fully accommodate our desired park use. They would keep the building rather than demolish it. It's a permitted use under current zoning and doesn't require any major entitlement process. It provides an ongoing community serving educational use. I think they shared with us that there's maybe 20 Jeffco students right now. It's a pretty small facility. So it's a big building in that it was a traditional school. Their student to staff ratio ranges from 1 to 1 to 1 to 8. So same building and footprint, but even a smaller impact from a land use standpoint than a traditional public school. We did have 2 educational proposals. The other one actually had submitted for both Color Strand and Wilmore Davis, and their stated preference was Color Strand because of size and location. So Spectra really emerged as a front runner, I would say. They would love to move in there as quickly as possible. I don't think that we can do that for the first semester of the next school year, but a very serious proposal and a quick timeline compared to some of the other respondents. Before I close, I do want to acknowledge that we've all received significant public interest. There is no public
neighborhood meeting required through any entitlement process, but we do think that that's an important component of next steps. So I think there's probably two opportunities where we'd see public engagement on this property if we were to move forward with Spectra and the municipal interest process. We'd schedule a neighborhood meeting this summer to literally meet the neighbors, introduce Spectra to the area, and vice versa. And then if this were all to move forward and the city were to be successful through the school board's process, there would be a separate public process as we think about what the park use could look like. I know you've heard a lot of feedback on that already. That would be a more formalized process in the future. So in terms of our immediate next steps, we're seeking consensus on three things to keep this moving forward: the selection of Spectra Centers as our preferred partner at Wilmore Davis, authorization to negotiate a non-binding letter of interest. That's sort of a routine next step where we outline some of the terms that could appear in a future agreement. And third, direction to prepare some of those more formal agreements, a proposal that would go to the school board, and to start drafting the agreements both with Spectra and with the school board. Those more formal documents would return to both you and to the school board for further consideration in study session and public hearing formats. I think that is everything. Happy to answer. It's been moving quickly.
Yeah.
But it was exciting to see these folks in the respondent pile.
Yep.
That's all for me.
Thank you. We'll go to questions, comments from council. Councilor Quinn?
I don't really have any questions, but I just want to say I think this checks all the boxes that the community has come out and asked for. It doesn't sound like there'll be any or very little construction. It's going to keep everything kind of the same as what everybody wanted. I don't see a downside to this.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I know you keep trying to demote me tonight. I just want to say that, much to what Councilor Quinn just said, this is very consistent with what we've heard from our constituents, and specifically the neighbors in the immediate area. They really deeply wanted to see a school use retained and the building retained, and then the park space made available to the public. So everything about this checks marks, and it fits a need in our community that Jefferson Public Schools can't meet. And we have a lot of community members that really, this is an educational opportunity for them. And I remember you saying, Mr. Goff, that they actually serve students through age 21. Is that correct?
They do. They have, I guess what the youngest age, it's 5 or kindergarten age, but they have a transitional program for 18 to 21-year-olds. And I think all their kids, they told us, are transitional. They try to get them back into a traditional school setting if possible. So, but it's specifically with the 18 to 21-year-olds. Yep.
Wonderful. Well, I think this is a great, I just was delighted when I saw that this was a proposal for the school reuse, and I would be happy to see this anywhere in our community. I think this is really fantastic. So excited that we're in a position to be considering this and supporting it moving forward.
Thank you. Councilor Ohm? Jim,
What's going on?
Senator Ohm, whatever. Go ahead.
So yeah, this is I can sell this. So the history with this is my kids went here. It's like, this is a few blocks from my house. I walk my kids every day to the school. And, I remember everybody in the neighborhood remembers the Halloween parades, the Christmas, all those kind of things happened at the school. So it has so much history, and teaching my kid how to play baseball in the back, before he started real baseball. And so there's so much history, and the residents have said very strongly that they want to keep this, as much as possible intact. Having to do some type of adapter reuse, it's like, check, that would be great. I would love to see something reusing this building. Right now, it's a little, it's not bad, but I can tell there's little hole, in the community's heart, that this has just kind of been sitting vacant, and to have kids there, I think that would mean a lot to the community, and to have, retain part of that park area, whatever, Parks to, Parks and Rec want and what the community wants, I'm 100% behind it. I think this would be such a huge win for everybody included. I think it would go a long way for the Jeffco School District of really showing, some good faith towards the community of that, showing that they're really supportive. And I think in the end, everybody would be really, really happy. And I appreciate, council's support on moving this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn? No, you're good? Okay. Quick question. I know Spectra is the name. Are they planning, I don't know if there's been any talk about keeping the name Wilmore Davis at all, or?
We haven't talked about that. I think, there's probably an opportunity with the park. We have a naming policy, but I think that we heard that from some constituents, right? Retaining that history as well. So I think that would come with the park, maybe.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments? Okay. Staff is asking for, and the 3 questions are in the memo, so we'll just go ahead and take a consensus on all 3. Do we have consensus on all 3 of these questions? We do.
Yes.
Thanks, Kathleen.
And enthusiastic yes by Councilor Martell.
Great, thank you. That's what we're looking for this evening. And as we said, you'll see this several more times before I think it's final. So.
Okay, thank you. Those are 2 agenda items tonight. Do we have anything else, Mr. Goff?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Councilors, is there anything else coming before us tonight? Good. Oh, yes. So we will not have a council meeting next week. It's a 5th Monday, but we will be at the Green, almost all of us, I believe, July 2nd. July 2nd is the 4th of July celebration, 150 years of Colorado, 250 years of the United States. And we are going to be celebrating Wheat Ridge style. Yep. I believe there's a bike parade, and all of us will have an opportunity to chat with the residents quite a bit, and we'll be up right after the bike parade, I believe. And then there's a band going and the Sandlot that night.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're looking to have a lot of fun and stay up forever, you will have fun. So we will not be here again next Monday, but we start Engage month starting on July 2nd. So that's where we'll be. See you then.
Great. Thank you.